What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I'd like to welcome you back to the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. On today's episode, we have got on a fellow podcaster and a great intellectual thinker. This is Jalisa Danielle, host of the Side Effect podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this for like some months now. So I'm
It's
happy I'm
long,
here.
awesome. It's long overdue. Jalisa, for people who are not familiar with who you are, please tell them a little bit about you.
Yes, I am a podcaster. I just started doing this about a year and a half ago. It started during COVID when I started becoming a lot more vocal. So I've been podcasting. I am in education. And yeah, you'll see my tweets going crazy now because I got a lot of stuff to say.
You've got a lot to say. Have you
I
always
do.
been like that? Tell me a bit more about your story.
I think I have been, well, in high school, like, I was very shy. I didn't really say much, but as I started, because I started getting into the music industry and, realizing, like, it was, like, a big grind, not that I was trying to be an artist or anything, but just being in that industry, um, you have to, like, open your mouth if you want opportunities, if you wanna go places, if you wanna work. So I just started becoming more vocal, as far as that, but as far as, like, my opinion and being a little bit more aggressive of, I guess, how people see, that just started maybe, like, 2 years ago. I'm
And
starting
what
to open
triggered?
up my mouth. COVID. You
Okay.
had a lot of time to sit and think, and, the more crazy things I saw, I had to say something because nobody else would.
So, where are you from? Are you originally from Texas?
I was born in Connecticut. My parents are retired military, so we lived in Connecticut, we lived in Cuba, and then we moved here. And so I've been here pretty much most of my life here in Houston.
Got it.
Hmm.
And a couple years ago, so 2020, the pandemic slash plandemic slash scamdemic hits.
Hmm.
And I don't know why everyone says hits. Hits is the term I've noticed people always use, and I just used it myself. And not just America, but the world as a whole suddenly is in a very weird place. People are panicking, people are fearful, people are freaking out. I know from the very beginning, it seems like you were in the very, very small minority of people who was like, wait, hang on, something here isn't right. What
Hmm.
was it initially that struck you as something not being quite what the narrative they were
Well,
claiming was?
I've always been a skeptic, but I don't trust anyone, anything, the news, because I did go to school for communications, so we learned television, my degrees in PR. I've learned how people present themselves to look a certain way, the words that they got to use. So I took everything. I was like, I don't know, but I was actually supposed to go to China in March of
Mm.
2020, and I had a flight scheduled for Shanghai. And when all that stuff started happening, I was like, oh well, just I'll still go. Um, but when I started to see more things, I actually ended up texting my parents and my sister. I was like, I think this whole thing. This was January 2020. I was like, I think this whole thing that's happening is going to be so everybody can get the shot. And they were just like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, no, I really think just because of the stuff I used to watch. I don't know if you know Jesse Ventura. He
Hmm.
had a show like years ago that was like about conspiracies and stuff, and I always would watch it. And then I was like, on all the movies and everything just started coming together, and I was like, I don't think this is real. And so I ended up going anyways to Europe, and then that week I was in London, Paris, and London, and that's when Trump got on TV and was like, no one else can come in from Europe, and then everyone's like, get home right now, it's so serious, and I was like, no, it's not. I'm gonna enjoy my vacation. Like it was crazy, but I can't believe like it actually happened.
Yeah, it's and people are moving on and acting like none of it did, which is
Yeah.
interesting. People are trying to memory hole everything like those past 2 years just didn't happen.
uh,
At what point did you become vocal on social media in general, or even specifically about that?
I think, well, on social media, it was more of during the election.
Mm.
So prior to COVID, I was during the election when I started becoming a little bit more vocal. Um, the second time around, when I was like, "Y'all don't pick Biden. I'm telling you, don't pick him." I'm just like showing everyone, like, "Look at this, look at this, look at this," and Yeah, people were just I was pointing out more of like, um I don't even wanna call it conspiracies because I feel like that sounds like fake. It's just like the truth. I'll just say the truth. I started posting things and doing side by sides, and people are like, "You need a channel. You need, to be more vocal about it." And I was like, I guess." And so then I was like, finally, and a year later, I started podcasting. But it was the election really that did it for me because I was like, "No, we can't. We can't have him."
Yeah. First of all, what made you feel that way?
Just because, I'm more of and I always tell people I'm more of a message over messenger type person, so, like, I'm not gonna cancel out an entire person because they said this one thing or whatever, like, if they said this thing that I agree with, okay, cool, like, but I'm not gonna dismiss someone completely, so it was just more of, like, the policies, the trans stuff, I'm not into all that, the BLM, not into all that. I'm not into, like, emotional triggering things. And
Mm,
so I'm a logical person. So when people are trying to persuade me through emotion or saying, well, so and so died because of our so, I'm like, okay, like,
yeah.
what does it have to do with me? That's not logical. So, yeah, it was more of just policies and the insanity that they were supporting.
Yeah, I hear that. I think we're living in a, I mean, I guess this has always existed to some degree,
Hmm.
or maybe it's a pattern throughout history because it's just part of the human condition. But now more than ever in my lifetime, we seem to very much be living through an age of just sort of emotion versus reality,
Hmm.
where it's just subjective feelings and trying to cater to and pander to the most minute and microscopic and minority feelings. Everything's just feelings and emotions
Hmm.
versus objective reality and things being logical and actually making sense. It seems that for the majority of my life, the latter was prioritized over the former, right?
Hmm.
Reality itself was reality itself, reason, logic. That was the primary way people would try to convince people. It doesn't matter if it's politics or if it's social, just generally, right? It wasn't
Hmm.
just like, oh well, I feel this and this person feels that, or this person could feel this or feel that. And now, even in the language people use, it's all feeling based. Just last week, I I was protested for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
I spoke at a
Wow.
university. I spoke at a university in Florida, and there were about 50 protesters.
Oh, I
Mostly,
did see the video. Yeah, I saw little clip.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was emotions, just emotions and feelings. I think most of them didn't even know exactly why they were there, who I was, what I was protesting. It's just, hey, apparently this guy's a bad guy, or he's transphobic, or he's this, or he's that. Right? They just
Mhm.
whatever term, whatever buzz terms they put out, and then people are just there with their signs, and they're angry, and they don't like you, and they don't even know what you believe. They don't know who
Yeah.
you are. They don't. It's just, well, I feel this, and your presence on campus is making me feel unsafe, and it's just feelings and feelings and feelings, and it's I've seen this before, right? I've seen it
Yeah.
happen to other people. I've seen it, the Ben Shapiro situations and
Mhm.
Milo Yiannopoulos, and I've seen these things of these students on campuses,
Oh my
Jordan
gosh,
Jordan
yes.
Peterson, but to experience it myself and to kind of be on the
Mhm.
receiving end, I was like, wow,
You're like,
this is
"Yes, I
quite
made it."
fascinating. Yeah, it's quite an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah. That is interesting, yeah, and I like to show those, like Steven Crowder, I'll play those in class because 'cause I'll have kids, like, choose, like, who was right, who was wrong, or who do you think, whatever. It's always interesting to see because those people, yes, are very emotionally driven, they're yelling, they don't wanna hear anything, so it's like, "Why are you even sitting down? Why are you even here? Like, just keep walking."
Mm,
It's and I had this conversation yesterday. I was like, it's impossible to try to get everyone to think exactly the same way when we've all grown up differently. There's a reason why you think what you do, I think what I do. Even down to like my parents being in the military, I have just a different mindset about a lot of things. Um, so, like, what are they trying to achieve by just like screaming? Like, it's not going to make somebody want to be on your side. So, is this a cancel to make you be
mm.
quiet? Like, I don't what is the purpose?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't view it this way
Mhm,
because this is not, I'm not like that. But the way I think of it is, I think it serves twofold purpose. I think number one, it's a weapon. right? It's
Mhm.
kind of an emotional blackmail tool, right? If you tell someone that, whether it's sticking the label on them, sexist, homophobic, racist, transphobic, bigot, whatever it is, it's an attack weapon, right? It
Mhm.
can shut down a lot of people because then they go on defensive mode and they start defending themselves, trying to explain why they're not those things. And once you've got someone explaining why they're not the thing that it's the going up to a man and, when did you stop beating your wife? And he's like, wait,
Mhm.
wait, like you're right. It throws
Yeah.
them off. But then also, I think with people who are also emotionally incontinent, as I call it, I think those emotional tactics reach them perhaps better than logic does, right? These are
Mhm.
the type of people, they don't care about facts. They don't care about logic. They don't care about data. They don't care about stats. They're just
No.
like, well, I feel this. This is my lived experience, or this is that person's lived experience. And who are you to challenge or question
Mhm.
that person's lived experience and subjective truth? The way I that's the way I think of it, to steel
It
man it.
it drives me insane because I had this incident happen at work the other day. And long story short, I sent out an email and I got a call into the office that was like, you need to reword your, uh, if I could reread it and show, I was like, what did I say? That's so hurtful. So I was like, how you said it, it hurt someone's feelings. And, I just want to know if you can reword it. And I said, what about my feelings?
Mm,
What about mine? What about mine? Do I need to be whiny and complainy just to like get my way? I'm not that type of person. Like I'm gonna be quiet and I'm just gonna observe, but like it's gotten to the point it's like the louder you are, the more obnoxious you are, the more annoying you are, then you get your way because people are just they don't want to hear you. I think that's why policy or things change because it's just like, ugh, I don't want to
mm.
hear you anymore. And so we'll just do what you want so you can shut up. But
Yeah,
it shouldn't
squeaky
be
wheel
like
gets the
that.
grease.
Yeah, like, I shouldn't have to do that, and so, yeah, it's just, let's cater to the crybabies. That's where
Yeah.
we're at in America right now. Cater to the crybabies and, everything will be great. It's like, no.
Yeah, and it really won't be. That's
No,
the
it
that's the
won't
thing.
be.
You can get away with it for a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
As I say, you can deny reality for a while, but you can't deny the consequences of denying reality.
Yeah, it's just we just live in an insane world, like I just said, like, with the NHL tweeting trans women are what I was like, the hockey is like the manliest sport. I can't believe I just saw that. Like, I really, like, trans women are women, and it said non-binary is a real thing or something like that, and I was like,
Yeah, is
"What?"
trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary is real and valid. Something close to that.
Why don't women who want to be men, why don't doesn't that get promoted, like, mainstream? Why do you think that is? You're obviously the
It does
first
to
female
some.
powerlifter or whatever you
Yeah. Do you know the truth, Jalisa? I think that this whole movement is actually deeply misogynistic in the true sense.
Mhm.
Like in the real sense. The word misogyny is thrown around
Oh my god, I'm so
a
tired of hearing
lot.
that word.
But if people want to talk about a real patriarchy and a real misogyny, it
Mhm.
is what is going on in the name of the so called trans movement.
Yeah.
Just allowing men with our balls, our beards, our penises
Mhm.
to conquer women's sports, conquer women's beauty pageants,
Mhm.
go into your changing rooms,
Oh my
go
god.
go into the go into the spas. I mean, it's wild. And it's crazy because it's crazy for two reasons. Number one, because it's primarily women who support it.
Mhm.
That's one crazy part.
Yeah.
And the other crazy part is it's only women who are negatively affected by it, right?
Mhm.
If a female goes into a male space, it doesn't matter if it's sports, if it's a changing room, if it's a spa, if it's they're not gonna like they're not a threat,
They
right?
can't we can't dominate y'all sports? We can't,
It's not
outlift
happening,
you? We can't
right?
outlift you,
Because
outrun?
low, right? So that's the thing. So even though it might be goofy and it might be illogical, it
Mhm.
doesn't have a real negative impact. I mean, you're seeing these situations. It sounds like South Park. You're getting female prisoners in prisons getting pregnant because they're allowing males into the prison, and
Yeah.
suddenly females are getting pregnant, and they're like, what's going on here? How did
Wonder
that
how
happen?
that yeah, how did this happen? Oh, we don't know why. It's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah. So it's weird. And it's weird seeing these so called progressive women like, yeah, this is what we want. Trans women are women. This is equality. And I'm just like, you are. you want your own erasure, right?
Mhm.
Your daughters, your granddaughters, they're gonna have to deal with the effects of all this stupidity, and it's pretty maddening to me because
Yeah.
I'm just like, yo, I'm trying to, because I've been talking about this issue now for many years before it was as mainstream as it is,
Mhm.
and I was always saying, yo, this is gonna affect women and girls in a bad way. It's why I did that whole deadlift stunt almost
Mhm.
4 years ago now. People still
Yeah.
talk about it. That was almost 4 years ago. And I was obviously bringing that to light as look, this
Mhm.
is why this is so goofy. This is the problem. If you can just have any big dude like me just be like, hey, I'm a woman and walk in. I mean, South Park
Yeah.
parodied it later that year. And it's now this is happening. You must have seen
Yeah.
that beauty competition not long ago.
Yes, I did. Oh my gosh, that big old dude. I was like, "Boy, I can't even say girl." Like, I my mouth, it won't fix itself to say girl. Like, I'm just like, "Boy, if you don't take that dress off, you're much larger than everyone else." And then all the girls are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, yeah, good job,
That's
yeah."
that's the
It's like,
part. That's the part.
"No, why are you clapping for that?" Like, if I was there, I'm just like old me would just sit there and be quiet. Today me will get up and be like, "What is wrong with all of you?" And then look around and say, "Stop clapping." I'd grab their hands, put their hands down. It's stop, stop, all of you. No. Like, delusion. We had this conversation at my other school that I was at, with the kids, and we asked them, like, you know, what, because they would say, "What if somebody wants to be called this or that?" Or, and I was like, "I don't care. I don't care. As a teacher, I don't care. I'm going to teach you that you don't have to give in to everything." And then the kids were going back and forth. And I was like, "Well, what if I want to be called Your Majesty? Because I feel like a princess.
Hmm.
Are you going to do it?" And then, like, "Well, that's different." So, no, it's not. It's how I feel inside. And you
Hmm.
better call me that, or you're going to get canceled. Like, and so when you start to give them these analogies, they're just like, "Oh, well, yeah, it, what is the, like, there's no difference between gender, animal, a royal title. Like, what, there's not a difference. It's just, they're just saying, "Oh, so how I feel."
Hmm.
How I feel. So how I feel is like a queen, so you must bow down and call me Your Majesty. And then they were like, "No, that's not the same." I was like, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is."
Yeah. I try my best not to be too disparaging of humanity and people in
Mhm.
general, but I've really learned that a lot of people genuinely do not think. People
Mhm.
really don't think things through. They just take a line. It doesn't even need to make sense, and they just repeat it and they go with it. And
Mhm.
there's not that with me. If some idea comes, or if someone says a sentence to me, which just logically does not, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
immediately like, wait, that doesn't really make sense, right? If someone's
Mhm.
telling me that a square is actually a circle,
Mhm.
and squares are circles, I'm like, wait, hang on, like, what do you mean by that, right? There's
Mhm.
there's a process of like
Yeah.
pushback, but there are people where it's just do this thing, say this thing, and they just go with it.
Mhm.
Especially if other people are saying it and doing it,
Yeah.
and they just go with it and they just repeat it, and I'm like, wait, this doesn't. What's going on? We saw this all through the past 2.5 years,
Mhm.
and people are just doing all this goofy stuff, repeating stuff. Makes no sense at all. No sense. Completely illogical. There's no science. There's no
Yeah.
logic. There's no. I'm just like, wait, why are you doing this? And why
Mhm.
are you're screaming at me for not doing it? Great example. When I was in Portugal, I went to Portugal last year,
Mhm.
spring 2021. In the UK, most people wore masks indoors, but it was no one bothered. People didn't bother each other,
Mhm.
generally speaking, right? Like, and not, most people didn't wear them outside. You could not wear one and you'd be fine. I went to Portugal, where they had both an indoor and outdoor mask mandate, but
Mhm.
the people on the street, like 99.5% compliance, but then people would scream. So I'm just walking down the street by myself. Like it's sunny, warm day, I don't
Mhm.
know, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just walking down the street by myself, minding my own business. People are shouting at me. Where's your mask? Put on a mask. Why aren't you wearing? You're putting outside. We're not even talking inside.
Yeah.
Just walking around outside. And I'm just like, this is so like as someone who's interested in human
Mhm.
psychology, I'm just like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? Because even for the people who believe that the masks are effective,
Mhm.
outside,
Yeah. By yourself?
You're right, or people driving in the car, driving in their cars alone, wearing them, which
Mhm,
happened in all countries and all cities. You
mhm.
still see it to this day, and in some ways, some of my friends are just like, man, like Zuby, just let it go. It doesn't matter. Why does
No,
it
no,
bother
no.
you?
Can't let it I can't
And
let
I'm
it go.
just like,
I can't let it
well,
go.
it bothers me, number one, because people were trying to force this on other people.
Mhm,
But it also bothers me simply because I like to understand things. I like to
mhm,
understand what's going on. If I walked outside and everyone was hopping around on one leg, I'd be like, why are they doing that?
mhm.
Right. And so if someone just says, oh, well, it's a free country, you're free to hop around on one. I'm like, I'm not saying you're not allowed to do it,
Yeah.
but why are they hopping around? It doesn't make sense. It's weird.
Mhm.
It's strange. It's not the best mode of transport. Why are people
Yeah.
hopping around on one leg? And you
Mhm.
just keep seeing it. I'd be like, why is this happening? Every time I see it, it's going to bother me.
Yeah. No, you have to say something, and and people tell me that all the time, "Just let it go," or, "Leave people alone, let them." I'm like, "No, because it doesn't make sense. But two, if you like, because I continue to talk about a lot of things, I have seen like some people kind of like break down their way of thinking and they kind of let it go because what they see me posting or saying or whatever. And then that they're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Maybe I should take it off. Maybe it's okay to stand next to somebody and breathe normally. Like, so when we do continue to speak, because I did have people who were mask crazy, freaking out, whatever, and then now
Mm,
they're not anymore because of people like us who continue to talk, show them things. This makes sense. And I did even have a student who was like, didn't want to get the shot, and she was like freaking out, and but she had followed me on social media, and she was, and I wrote her. I said, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you not to get whatever. I'm going to just present you information, and if you'd like, do what you want to with this. And she showed it to her parents. She told me, and they were like, okay, well, you don't have to get it, because
mhm.
I don't like to I don't want to force what I believe, but I just like to show people stuff, and that's a frustration with like social media, because the censorship and all that kind of stuff, like, and you really want to show people, and these are personal stories that I've, especially with me going freaking psychosis I had at work, because every 2 seconds it was like, put your mask on, put your mask on. Here's a write up at 1:32. You weren't wearing it. Like, I was going insane, and I was like the only person speaking up, which drove me crazy, which is why I was like, I have to say something, because I feel like in my area, around my people, I was affected the most because my school district held on to it like the last one in Houston.
Mm,
And I'm like, it's been 3 school years. Like, what is wrong with you people? Like, we're having music festivals, we're having the rodeo out here, we're having all of these things, and you are still you gave away tickets to the music festival that had like 100 some thousand people, but you're still forcing it in schools because it's dangerous in schools.
mm.
I'm like, y'all, use your brain. Use your brain. Like, what is happening in here every day? I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yep.
I'm gonna scream. I am going to scream because why? And I
Yeah.
got made out to be like the crazy person. I'm like, no, you guys are. You're the crazy ones. What's wrong with you? Yeah, because I didn't see, like you said, you went to Portugal. I went to Egypt in December 2020. And over there it was like, mm, nobody really had a mask. Like, you might have saw one. Nobody enforced it. I was like, wow, this is what it's like on the other side of the world. They don't have constant propaganda 24/7. People, it's like normal.
Hmm.
But over here, you repeat stuff so much that people believe that it's true. It's
Yep.
weird how that works.
Yep. I'm sure you could just go 2 hours or 1 hour outside of Houston and you would have seen
Yeah.
something totally different.
Actually up north, in Montgomery County, which is Conroe, Woodlands, all that up there, they didn't have a mandate, like, at all. And that was only
Hmm.
an hour up north.
Yeah, I had the same. I
I'm
was
like,
in California last year, and the difference even between like
"Oh my gosh,
LA
California."
County and Orange County
Mhm.
was night and day, right?
Yeah,
Orange County was like Florida, not even an hour away. Like you cross the magic line and
yeah,
suddenly no more virus, no more
yeah.
masks, no more any like LA was like super, just they're
Oh
on it,
my
right? And then
yes.
you just go outside it and you're just like, guys, what is going on? I'll tell you another thing that's crazy about it and why Some people are like, Zuby, stop talking about the pandemic. It's over, whatever. I'm like, no, guys, I'm not letting this go.
No.
But it's also the fact that no one used to behave like that, right?
Exactly.
It's that it's so new. So our entire lives, all the way up until all the way up until January 2020, our position, our behavior, our approach to all of this was what 100% of people's behavior was, right? There was no such
Mhm.
thing as being anti-mask in 2019.
Yeah.
It was just like you're just a normal human being who doesn't want to cover your face outside and
Mhm.
wants to breathe fresh air and not be breathing through plastic all like just you're
Mhm.
just a normal person. And then less than 6 months later, you're now an anti-masker.
Mhm.
Right? I'm like, guys, that's not a word. That's not a thing. I'm just a normal human being. I'm just doing what I've been doing my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm doing what you used to do. I mean, before, if you got in a taxi or went into a bank and put a mask on, like, bro, they'd arrest you. They'd be like, what are you
Mhm.
doing? No, you can't cover your face up in here, right? You're
Mhm.
walking around with a bandana. It's not just that they changed it. It's like they
Yeah.
inverted it. They inverted it. They made stuff that previously was seen as antisocial the norm, and then
Mhm.
doing what was actually normal. You're now the antisocial one. You're now the one
Mhm.
who's selfish and uncaring and wants this and wants that. I'm like, no, I'm just a normal person from 2019, bro.
Mhm. I think I think because we live in a well, our society, like, they want everybody wants to be rewarded for doing the bare minimum. So they uplifted people to make them seem like heroes, for covering their mouth and to tell somebody off, like, "Yeah, you're doing the right thing." Like, "Yeah, you tell them." And I'm like, "No." And that's what I was very combative during that time. And I fought everyone everywhere I went, in New York, in LA. When I was in LA, August 2021, like going into Starbucks, of course, they'd have no seats. You just order and get out. I was waiting for my friend to get their food, and I just took a little bite of my food, and put your mask on. I'm like, what the heck? I'm the only one in here. Like, well, two of us, and then the workers. But I was like, what in the world? They're screaming at Runyon Canyon
Mm.
outside. At the bottom, they had people making sure you had a mask on while you're running the mountain. Was New York was probably the worst. New York had, like, COVID tents, like, testing tents outside of
Mm.
McDonald's. Like, just little plastic one little girl sitting out there, like, who are these people? Do you just get online and get a COVID job? Like, who's testing you? Is this like an intern down the street or a high school kid? Like, who are these people? What's going on out here? So I was like, I can't.
It was honestly the weirdest time
It's
ever.
still weird, I feel like, but it's
Yeah.
not that bad, but it's still a little weird, yes.
You know, in Canada, they're trying to bring back the mask mandate.
Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
and I have seen talks about it. I was like, oh no, we're fighting. And I even told I'm swinging on somebody. I had told, my because I did mention I am in education. I did tell this new principal, and it was kind of weird because I was kind of like, I was like, "I'm done with teaching. I hate everything about education." But this district was not like they're more conservative. So I was like, "Okay, let me try it one more time." But when they had to call my references, which I had to list my previous bosses, I was like and we had the relationship where, like, we fought every day, but I'm like, "What did you say? What did you tell them?" Because like, I was just so done, I didn't even care how I talked to them, nothing. And then it's like, "Well, I told them you didn't like wearing a mask, and you're very opinionated, and you don't back down." I said, "Good, because if it ever comes back, they won't be surprised when I
Mm.
say I'm not wearing that." And I had seen talks about them trying to bring it back. I was like, "Oh no, we're gonna have another issue on our hands because I'm not doing that again." It was a lot of hypocrisy with that.
Yeah. I find it so interesting that you're a teacher because so many people, not just in education, but in any type of employment, the thing I'm always hearing from people is I'm afraid of this. I can't speak out. I can't do this. I can't. I'm sure you get
Yeah.
the same, right? I can't do this.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't. Oh, Zuby, it's easy for you. You're self-employed. You get paid for your opinions. Da da da. I can't do this. I have a family. I have a job. You don't know what it's like for me. You don't. And
Yep.
I think it's mostly cope and cowardice. I
Yep.
understand it. I can empathize with it, right? I
Mhm.
get what they're saying, but I also know so many people, some of whom I've even had on my podcast, who
Mhm.
are university professors or teachers or well-known
Mhm.
academics or people who are famous for various reasons or people who are just normal people who work their job, but they put their name and their face out there and they
Mhm.
say what they think and they're courageous and they're generally okay. Yeah, some people
Mhm.
get quote unquote not even canceled because I think you get canceled by your own audience, right? You don't
Mhm.
get getting canceled isn't just someone saying, having a go at you. That's just being
Mhm.
a human. But there's such a climate of fear. There's such a climate of cowardice. So I'm curious as to how you manage that within the realm of education and being in the schooling system, and also how you talk to students about this stuff.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so during COVID, of course, when we were virtual, didn't really talk about it, but when we got back to school and the mask thing started happening, I started to vocalize how unfair it was, at least from the teacher standpoint. Because if you're an administrator, you probably have your own office, you're probably sitting in there by yourself, you're probably not wearing a mask. So most of your day is oxygen, and mine was not. And so to think that I can just stand up and be like this and cover my mouth and talk for an hour straight or whatever, however long, and it was already first of all, it was super hot in my classroom. I don't know why there was just no AC in there. So, like, for years, I was in that room and sweating every day. So my face is covered. I'm already irritated because it's hot. So all of that on top of, I was just like, it's not fair. I was like, you guys sit in an office all day. You stand up here, and I would watch. And the thing is, I was like, I would record everything. I was recording, recording. I watched you take your mask off 33 times at this because I was like, you're not gonna come for me because I'm gonna come with all the receipts, all the everything. I was taking pictures. And so I think they knew that they really couldn't say anything to me because I was ready to I had ammo. I had a lot of ammo. And even talking to the kids about it, I tell them because I don't believe in I understand that, like, kids, don't know everything or they don't need to know everything, but stuff like that, taking advantage and telling them, "You have to do that," because we already had a demographic of kids that were already very combative before all of this. So you add more rules. um, we have a school that fights every day, all day. I mean, all kinds of chaos, just every day. So on top of them getting yelled at for that, then they're getting yelled at because you see their nose. You getting so there was like nobody was coming to school anymore. Nobody was doing their work. Everyone was just like no kids were talking. Nobody wanted to work with each other, and it just became ridiculous. And so I was like, I'm not wearing a mask anymore. And because people were complaining about me, saying, "Why doesn't she have to wear one and we do?" And I'm like, "Well, you don't. Take it off." Like, what the heck? Just take it off, remove it. And so, yeah, they were like, "Well, can you please just at least, wear a shield?" And that's where I just like blew up because some people are watching this right now visually. I'm trying to find like, okay, you know what? I got this thing right here. Don't ask me why I have this, but this okay, so I have this right this was pretty much my mask. It had holes in it, it was bedazzled, and they were like, "That's fine as long as your face is covered." And I'm like
Compliance, compliance.
so with the students, I would bring it up. I said, "Y'all, if y'all see me with a face shield, just know I'm protecting you." And I made a joke out of it. I was like, "Safe, not safe. Safe, not safe." And I would do this. I said, "Do y'all see what's going on right now?" And so then a lot of them started to, become more aware. I just don't believe in taking advantage of kids just because they weren't even kids. They're like 17, 18, 19 years old. Like, I don't want a whole generation of kids just being freaking robots and just being told what to do because somebody said it. It's like, no, if it doesn't make sense, then speak up. If I don't make sense to you, say something. Like, because I don't wanna, lie to them.
Hmm.
And that's all they were just being lied to. It became so ridiculous. Like that we had the Walmart squares. We had the Walmart circles on the floor with the arrows. Only you can only walk that way and walk this way. And it was, I'm telling you, it was so bad. I had to get out of that place. I had to get out of that district. I was like, who approved this? Who was like, yes, let's
Hmm.
walk left on this hallway and right on this hallway, but we're all going to meet in the same classroom.
It's nutty. It's nutty. And it's just how global it was.
Hmm.
This was I went to 8 different countries during it.
Hmm.
Goofiness everywhere. The goofiness in the restaurant, the goofiness in the malls, the goofiness in the grocery store. And I'm like, if they did some silly stuff in one place, or okay, they had this over there or that, I was like, how is everywhere? How is the whole world doing this goofy stuff that
Hmm.
no one used to do? None of it is making sense. I feel like everyone is knowing it doesn't make sense, but you're
Yeah.
doing it because you don't want to rock the boat, and people are so agreeable that you're going to just do this weird little dance of compliance to show that you're a good person, or to show this or to show that. And I guess we both just have that personality type
Hmm.
where we're like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah,
Doesn't make
no.
sense. No,
No.
you'll resist every single way, every single part of the way. And what's funny about it is I'm not someone who even has I'm not someone I wouldn't even consider myself naturally rebellious. I'm not someone who as a teenager or as a
Mhm.
child was just rebellious against authority. I don't actually have
No,
an
not yeah,
inherent
I say no, not
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't have an inherent problem with authority. I have a problem with things that don't make sense, especially when they're being pushed on me
Mhm.
by an authority, especially if I don't even consider the authority valid or respectable
Mhm.
to begin with, right? If
Oh,
someone
yeah.
just tells me to do something and I'm like, "Why?" And they're just like, because I said so." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." What, because you said so? I'm like, "No, explain it to me. Explain it to me in a grown-up, logical way. Tell
Mhm.
me how and why it makes sense, and I'll consider it. As a free human being, I will consider it. If someone's
Yeah,
like
I'll
Zuby,
think about it.
yeah, yeah, if tomorrow, so it could be minor. If someone's like Zuby, wear a red T-shirt tomorrow, and I'm like, why?
Mhm.
And they're like, because I said so. Wear a red T-shirt. I'm gonna wear a red T-shirt, so you wear a red T-shirt. I'm like, no. Why should I wear a red T-shirt? Right? I mean, I'll wear a
Yeah.
red T-shirt if I want to,
Mhm.
but there's got to be a reason. If you give me a real good reason, there could be a good reason for me to wear a red T-shirt.
Mhm.
But tell me, right?
Yeah. Like,
But they're
give
just
me
like,
yeah.
nope, we're not doing that. Just do it, or you're the bad person.
Yeah, 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 like you said, I was not a rebellious person. I think, like, growing up, I was more like just like a sneaky, like, "Can I get away with this? Can I get away with this?" I did the little fake ID thing. I did all the little things like that, but I wasn't like purposely like rude or talk back or anything like that. But now, yes, yeah, I will say something. And I will say, how does that make sense? Like I'm just at that point now. Like I ask people a lot of questions, and even when I did, or like at the grocery store when they're like, you can't buy groceries unless you have a mask on, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh," and I'll make sure I grunt, yell, say, "How does this make sense? Tell me, give me your reasoning, or is this just the rules, or, whatever." And so I make sure, like, I make my point. Like, when I went to New York, I went to a smoothie place, and this was January of last or this year. They still were on the mask thing, and the guy was like, "You have to put a mask on," and I was like, "Why?" Because like, I'm here in Texas, I haven't worn one in forever, so I was like, "Why?" He's like, "'Cause you have to," and I'm like, "For a smoothie? Like, I'm the only person in here." He's like, "It's just," and then I said I just go, "Aren't you," I was all these dudes, I said, "Aren't you guys tired of wearing this?" And he's like, "It's just a few seconds." And I'm like, "Well, then, I don't need to wear it if it's just a few seconds." Like, what the heck? And then
Hmm.
but I'm being painted out, like, as some whatever. But you got them like, they're all half right here, like, on the chin. Like, you guys aren't even serious people. Like, I don't take anything serious anymore because I'm like, everything is such a joke. I'm
Were
just,
you
oh.
were you disappointed by male behavior during this? Because I was.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
disappointed by
Yes.
everyone, but particularly by men. I was like, guys,
Yes.
like men used to go fight in wars and do no, but for
Yeah.
real, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm like, guys, like, what on earth? Like, this is just I was like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like most of the Karens I came across in that 2 years were men. Like the
Yeah.
Karens were
No,
not
it was
even women.
it was.
Yeah.
It was good, and, like, at my school, my last school, um, and I had this one particular football coach who every time he saw me walk down the hallway, he's like, "There goes the rebel. There goes the she don't want to wear a mask." I mean, just always commented something, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, grow a pair!" Like, you're how old are you? You're like 40 something years old, and you're like, "Oh, I'm putting my little gator on," and what is that even doing? What is that even gator even doing? Nothing. Okay, first of all, but yeah, I was like the only myself and one other teacher who, another female teacher who were the only ones fighting back. Like literally, like I'm ready for like lawyers. We were getting everything ready because our governor was like, schools can't mandate this. And then my school district was like, we don't care what you say. We're gonna do it anyways. And so I think that's also another reason why they kind of didn't do too much with me because they knew I was gonna take it up. I was gonna take it all the way to the top and they also knew that my background is in media, the news. I'm calling the news. I used to bring all kinds of people to the school, DJs, news people. And so one phone call, y'all are on the news. I'm going viral. We're gonna fight this out.
Mm.
So it was crazy. But yeah, the guys like no one said anything. And I did have like some who agreed with me, but they just wouldn't speak up.
That might be
Yeah.
even worse.
That is worse. I get so mad 'cause I'm like, "You guys believe what I believe. Say something, like, help me out, like, stand by me." And
Do you know
so
what I think it's, Joe? I think it's like one of your friends is getting jumped or something, and you're like hiding behind the sofa, like cheering them on. Yeah,
yeah.
you go fight, you go fight. It's like they're like, yo, what? Come and fight with me.
Yeah.
Like, why are you? You're letting me just here like get the crap kicked out of me, and you're
Yeah.
there like, yeah, I'm supporting you. I'm supporting you. You
Yeah,
go,
from
you
way
go.
back here.
Yeah,
Yeah, way back here.
yeah.
I'm like, "No." Like, oh, that yeah, that was probably the most frustrating part is feeling alone when other people agreed with you. And I was just so angry. I was like, "I don't respect any of you. I have 0 respect from the top all the way to the bottom, from the principal, superintendent. I don't respect any of them." I was like, "Not even your title, nothing. Like, you are a weak individual, and if I think you're weak, like, I don't care who you are." Like, it's just there's no coming back from that, and even when I had, coworkers like, "Oh, finally we can take the mask off. Finally we can." I'm like, "Mm-mm, you don't talk to me about anything." Because they're now even today sending me information and stuff. I'm like, duh, duh, duh. No, 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 no. I tried to talk to y'all about this a whole year ago and nobody wanted to say anything. And now you're like, look at this." I'm like, I'm not speaking to you anymore.
That's
Okay.
so funny.
It just
What
I
do you
just whatever.
What do you think is going to be the next battleground for human consciousness? Because I think we've just had a massive war and assault on that. But what do you think is next?
Oh, like what are they gonna try to get you to tug what are they tugging at your heartstrings? What's the next thing? Oh,
What's the next
man.
psyop,
I
Danielle?
know, it's like
What's the next psyop?
they already did the trans thing, they've done the virus thing, they've done, like you just said, all the uh, probably like a natural disaster, maybe. Maybe a natural disaster, throw a couple of graphic images out there, blame somehow people who don't wear masks somehow are to blame for the hurricane for some reason or whatever it may be. Just like freaking Joe Biden, he's like, if you want to protect yourself from hurricane, make sure you get vaccinated. It's like, what? What? I can't believe those. Like, I think you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking
Yo,
about?
I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. I was in the UK at the time, and I was
The,
like, wait.
the
Did he just
FEMA
say? I was
thing. I
like,
was
come
like,
on.
what? Did you just say a way to save yourself from hurricane? Now in Houston, we've had a lot. I've been through a lot of them. Like that is not the way you protect yourself from a hurricane. Okay, I don't know where they even came up with that. Who even believes that? That's the crazy part. Is that do you really think that the people actually believe that? Can't they can't?
What's crazy though is these are the same people who then will attack other people for spreading misinformation and disinformation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is your job. Like that's all y'all have been doing for the past several years at this point is spreading misinformation and
Mhm.
disinformation. And somehow I'm the bad guy, you're the bad guy. People who are trying to not even tell you what to think, but tell you to think, trying to
Mhm,
encourage you to at least question things. If something doesn't make sense, ask a question.
mhm.
But it's like, nope, you're the bad guy. TV told me so.
Yeah, you can't even ask questions anymore, and that's another thing. I think that's where I frustrate people because I won't even say an opinion on something. I'll just ask questions, and I purposely will do it. Like I'll know what the other side might think, and so I'll ask that question. And I try, like with my students, and I try to get them to like use logic because they're like, I hate when you do that. Because I'm always like, well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, what if it? And then they're like, stop it, stop it. I'm like, I'm trying to get you to think. Like, use your brain. Ugh. But
What
I
is it?
don't know what is the next psyop. I don't know what it
Next
is.
one, maybe something. They're going hard on the climate
This
stuff right
guy
now.
right here.
Oh yeah.
Actually, my sister painted this. But yeah,
All right.
something with him. Something with this guy. You
Oh,
know,
the
maybe
big orange menace.
yeah, the orange bad man. Maybe
Yeah.
something with him. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna keep looking though. I'm gonna be online. I'm online all the time. Just looking at insanity every single day, getting mad.
Welcome to clown world. Well, as an American, you must be proud now to have. It was Joe Biden's birthday over the weekend.
Wow, yeah, I celebrated with my
So,
family.
yep. So you are. This is now the first time in history that the USA has an 80-year-old president. First time ever.
You know, I think they keep replacing him with some, some doppelgangers because there's no
Uh
way.
oh. Uh
This guy
oh.
can't even walk down the stairs. And then it's like one day he can't even walk down the stairs. The next day he's giving speeches like this. I'm like, nah, this something's weird. I don't know, because ain't no way. He's riding bikes one day, but then he's tripping over on the stage of nothing the next day. It's like, at least Donald Trump, they made fun of him for holding water or whatever, the way he drank water. It's like,
Mm,
is he falling all over the place like this other guy? No. But
yeah.
he's really old. I don't know how much longer he has.
Do you think there should be an upper limit on president's age? I know
I
there's a
don't
lower limit.
I don't think there should be. I mean, I think there's a lot of I've seen, very fit and cognitive 90-year-olds. So I
Hmm.
don't think there should be an age limit, but I think once you start to notice cognitive decline, then yes, maybe you should be like, all right, time to get out. No
Yeah.
more. But who
Yeah.
makes that decision?
Yeah, true that. Like, I don't necessarily. I've heard some people arguing that there should be an upper limit. I'm like, I don't think there should be an upper limit, but I don't think you should vote for someone who's an octogenarian either, right?
Yeah,
Like,
like,
you've got you've got options. I know the options are not amazing,
yeah.
but if you choose willfully to vote for someone who is that old, then I'm like, okay. I just hope you're ready for the fact that in terms of their energy and their cognitive abilities and so
Mhm,
on, even their physical abilities, they're going to be on the decline. Even if they're in
mhm.
relatively good shape. I mean, they're at the life expectancy.
Yeah.
So, you're 15 or so years above the retirement age.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've made this point many times before, but it does baffle me how in a country of 330 million people, it seems so difficult to get a guy or a gal who can just be
Makes
sane
sense.
and do a decent and just do a decent job and not be not be hyper polarizing. You're always going to polarize people to some degree,
Yeah.
but every time if I look at the last few US elections, I'm just kind of like, how are these the only options?
Because they're already in the system. And so they were, like Biden was already in the Senate and all that kind of stuff for so many years. It's like you already have to be in it. And then they're not gonna just pick some random person who makes sense.
Yeah, but people still do vote, right?
Yeah.
People still do participate in the democratic process. Like,
Mhm.
how above board and legitimate it all is, I
Yeah.
don't know, but I know for sure,
Who
these
picks the
these people.
ultimate 2? Who picks the 2 that you have to choose from? That's what I wanna know.
Yeah, it's odd to me because I just look at it. By the way, not even just in the U.S. I mean, in
Mhm.
Canada, they reelected Justin Trudeau. I mean, all on a lower level, all the governors that
Mhm.
imposed the COVID tyranny, all of them got reelected.
Yeah.
All of
I
them.
did notice that.
So that's where I'm just like, bro, like I don't even.
That doesn't make sense because there's so many people, like, rebelling against it. So there's no way that I ain't even gonna say nothing. Ain't no way. There's no
It's just
way.
weird to me. It's weird to me. Like, I know not everyone shares my perspective and my
Yeah.
political views and so on, but I'm just like, man, after after what you've just been through. Australia is going through this now. So I was in Australia like a month, 5 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I was there for 3 weeks. And you know, Melbourne, Australia, had the longest lockdown in the entire
Mhm.
world. In Victoria, over 500 days of lockdowns, and they've got their elections coming up. And the guy who imposed all of it, who locked people in their houses and had the police out
Mm.
shooting people for protesting. I mean, there's a chance he's going to win re-election, and I'm just like, how? Like, I don't. What is wrong with you people? Like, I want to like,
Yeah.
I'm. This is where I'm just like, you know what? I mean, at some point, I'm just like, you know what? Maybe just I just need to go my own way and leave people to their devices and
Yeah.
let them
It's
enjoy
like,
it, because you can only save people to some degree, and after
yeah,
that, it's
like,
just
there's
like, you
just
know
no
what? Like,
way.
I can't help you.
There's no saving people. You're trying
No.
to save them, but there's no saving them. I would
No.
love to, like, just have a message to the world with a megaphone and be like, "Y'all stop this stupidity. Let's just be logical, non-insane people because what is going on?" I can't. Like, it's very it does get difficult sometimes, like, especially, like, even at work, like, I have, coworkers who all think the same, and I don't think like them, and just having conversations, just hearing even like the politics, even down to like the little stuff. It's like, how can anyone think Trump is? I'm like, oh, here we go. Oh my gosh, here we go. Here, what's going on now? And I'm just like, ah. And I actually did have one of my coworkers who's like, I don't know how people, if you're black, how do you even agree with anything he says? Because he said this, blah blah blah. And I was like, actually, he did not say that. He said this. And then he's like, where? Show me, show me, show me. So I show him the full clip and the look, oh my gosh, like, I wish I could have
Was it the
recorded it.
very fine people one, or both
Yes.
sides? The both. There's
The
very.
very
Yep. Yep.
fine
Yep.
people
Yep.
story. I was like, you're a freaking just a snippet repeater. That's what you. And so I showed him the full clip, and he's like, he never denounced, Nazis and blah blah. I said, yes, he did. The
Multiple
clip,
times.
he literally said it, and that's like, and there's other clips from years ago, from the 90s, 2000s, of the same exact thing. I was like, I have everything saved just for these moments right here. I was like, hold on, give me 2 seconds, and I like looked it up, and then I showed him, and then he was just like, oh, okay,
Yep. Yep. It's like when
well,
people do the. It's like now
yeah.
people do the. Oh, no one said that the vaccine would stop the transmission. No one
Yes, it
said it
is.
would. No
Here's
one
a
said it would
video
stop.
montage.
No one said it would stop you getting it. No one said that. No one said. I'm like, bro, stop lying. Like, stop.
Yeah. What do you
like,
mean no
like,
one
like,
said it?
what? The Joe Biden,
Everyone said it.
the president of the
Fauci.
CDC,
Yeah, like,
Fauci, and Albert Bourla, the head of Pfizer. Like, the tweets are still there. Like, the video is there, and people are like, oh well, the science changed things. I'm like, bro,
no,
stop. I
no, the
thought the science was
propaganda
settled
changed.
last year. Last year the science was settled. Last year it was settled. Now it's changed. I'm like, just stop. Like,
There
don't
is
gaslight me.
they're just gonna forever run in circles. Like, you're gonna forever run like, you're gonna run out of, like, excuses. Because at what point do you finally admit that you were wrong? They don't wanna admit that they're wrong. I'm like, "You guys, I'm the winner. You're the loser." Like, just give it up already, So I told him, I said, "I have a counter for everything you say. I have a counter, and I'm correct." I have galleries in my phone. They're all organized by albums. Just what topic? All right, boom, right here. Here you go. And I just have like all kinds of information because people just need to know. And again, the internet scrubbing things. I just feel like I need to hold on to all this information.
Where do you go to get your information? What sources do you actually trust?
My brain. Personal stories. That's really all it is. Like,
Okay.
personal accounts, and Twitter, I think, is the best place to search for things. I don't believe in like professional media outlets because they're all compromised. But it's more of like anecdotal. Did this happen to you? Let me see it. Let me hear it. Let me look with my own two eyes. Um, and my own personal stories. Like, that's enough for me to convince myself.
What about in terms of actual like data or statistics?
For what?
Just stuff in general.
I
Stuff in
don't
general. I
well, I
mean,
mean
because I mean, I'm with you to obviously a major extent
mhm,
on not trusting major publications, but
mhm.
with me, there's also a big caveat in that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think, okay, it's not like everything they're running is a psyop and a lie. It's more like you have to take it all with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
If multiple platforms are all reporting on the same thing from even Fox News and CNN and MSN
Hmm.
and BBC, and they're all saying the same thing about something, I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, on that particular thing, once you remove their spin in the wording,
Hmm.
okay, those facts are probably true and you can go up to the source. But then there's other things where it's like, oh, okay, well, they're clearly leaning a certain way on this. But
Hmm.
I think it's a question for a lot of people. I think a
Yeah.
big issue right now is people don't even know. There's
I
so
don't think
many
there's
information
yeah.
sources, but
I
it's
don't
like,
think
where do you
there's
get
one
it?
true out like, you could look up, I don't know, stats on police shootings. Like, probably 10 different websites are gonna have different numbers of the same type of statistic. Like, you could say, like, 2022 murder numbers, and there'll be a bunch of different numbers. So, like, I don't even know what's real and what's not real. So I don't really look at like data. Like when someone says, "Oh, well, that's not right," I don't pull up a website and be like, "Well, this website says this." So I just use more personal stories of why I believe what I do. Because like I said, I
Mm,
don't try to force anybody with facts. It's just like I saw it,
yeah,
so that's why I don't
I,
want
I
to do it.
I get that. It's just that I
Mhm.
also know that a lot of the types of people and thinkers or lack of thinkers we
Mhm.
criticize often are like, oh well, I experienced this thing or my friend did or whatever, so
Mhm.
therefore it must happen. It must
Mhm.
happen all the time, right? Someone will be like, oh well, I know a young person who
Mhm.
got really sick with COVID or who died of it, so
Yeah.
I know that one person, so therefore that means that it's really dangerous
Mhm.
for young people and
For
kids all need
everyone.
to go out
Yeah.
and get the. And I'm like, well, what about the actual data, right? What
Mhm.
about the fact, like,
Well, I think just, like I said, just using my own 2 but yeah, I mean, there are
mm,
websites I don't have any on the top of my head because I don't look at that kinda stuff, but
yeah,
for
yeah.
them, like, for them to say, "Oh, it's the deadliest virus ever," and the bodies are gonna be all in the streets, and you look around and you're just like, "It's the same people here." I
Yep.
don't I don't see much of a difference,
Still ticking along.
yeah, just like, this looks normal out here, so whatever.
Oh, by the way, Jalisa, I wanted
Mhm.
to congratulate you for we're coming up to the 1 year anniversary of the winter of severe illness and death, and I
Oh, it's
wasn't
coming
sure.
back, they said it was coming back, so
I wasn't sure
we'll
if
be
you were going to
ready.
make it.
Uh,
I
I'm
was
here.
praying for many of my American friends, but they're all still here. So
Yes, the winter of death or the
good
winter
job.
of whatever. I'm like, "What?"
Severe illness and death for you and your families.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
From
From
the
my
White
family to
House.
yours. Yeah.
from the White House. I
Yeah,
was like, wow, that's that Christmas spirit.
I was like, "What the heck?" And I did see another clip that I think that's Fauci said it like it was coming back again, like the winter. It's because of all you unvaccinated people. It's like, just give it up already. I'm just so over it. Golly, just stop. Like, we're done with it. We're done. It's not gonna work again, no matter what you call it, no matter what animal you use, monkeys, rhinoceroses. Like, we're running out of stuff. We're running out of names, Ligma, Sigma, Delta, whatever, gorilla this, that, like, they just, like, just stop. Like, I just wanna say, "Just stop. Just stop. Stop." Every day I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?"
No doubt. Well, Jaleesa,
Yeah,
it's been awesome talking to you.
of course.
I love your insights. I love the fact. Whenever I don't even know how I first started following you, but I was just like,
I probably said
some.
something
I
crazy.
I think I think I was looking for people who just get it,
Yeah.
right? Who gets it? Who gets it? Who's like saying something that actually is making some kind of sense, and I can see that their brain is independently processing some thought.
Yeah.
And yo, where can people find you online?
So I right now just use Twitter and Instagram. I still have Snapchat, but like nobody really uses that. But Twitter is probably where I'm most active. So my little handle down there, if you're watching it, that's my Twitter name. But it's Jalisa Danielle underscore because somebody took my name without the underscore and they need to give it up already. And on Instagram, it's Jalisa underscore Danielle. So I post a lot of things on my stories. Um, and then, of course, my podcast is on Apple and Spotify, the Side Effect Podcast. If you're watching it, it's right here. Um, I was thinking about changing the name because this got flagged a lot. They were like, "Side effect of what?" No,
Oh,
yeah. But I named it that because I feel like there's a consequence to not knowing the truth. So there's a side effect to not being red pilled. You fall in line with all the propaganda and you get got. every day. So that's why I called it that. But yeah, that's where they can find me, Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, Jalisa, keep
Mhm.
fighting for the truth. Keep people on their
Oh, wait,
toes and
this
keep
time.
them thinking.
I will. Thanks.